All right, welcome back to the channel. So Gervonta Davis dumps his 130-pound title to avoid Chris Colbert and go up and try to cherry pick Romero. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about Gervonta Davis and Floyd Mayweather Jr. pulling a slick move, getting out of the 130-pound division and avoiding a fight that was probably going to be mandated by the WBA, and that was a fight with Gervonta Davis and Chris Colbert in order to move up to 135 pounds, where he may be ordered to fight a much easier but yet an in-house fight in Romero. Before I get into the meat of the video, though, please make sure, if you're not subscribed, to subscribe to the channel. Also share the video, like the video, it goes a long way towards growing the channel. Look, man, the games in boxing. There are so many really good fights that could be made if people just wouldn't always try to get cute. And in this particular instant, I think Mayweather Promotions got cute and got away from a fight that would have been if it would have been able to be taken place, it would have been a very entertaining fight for boxing fans, and one that would have pitted two of the best 130 pounders together in exchange for him moving up to fight a guy who's got a big mouth at 135 pounds in Romero, but does not possess anywhere near the risk. If you know Gervonta Davis, you know that Gervonta Davis is an excellent fighter, and I'm not saying nothing in this video am I saying do I mean to communicate that Gervonta Davis is anything but an excellent fighter who deserves all the credit that he deserves. I understand why Floyd Mayweather Jr. and these guys make the moves that they make, why they would want to do a Romero instead of a Chris Colbert. But at the same time, as a boxing fan, as somebody that really knows and appreciates the sport, I gotta cry foul here, because, you know, number one, you know, the only real championship that Gervonta Davis was the 130-pound championship. That's the WBA super title. That's the only real championship that he has. The 135-pound championship that he won is the WBA regular championship, and that is underneath Teofimo Lopez. So the WBA ordering him to fight Romero for that secondary belt really doesn't mean anything. Where if he would have fought Chris Colbert, then that actually would have meant something for that division, and it also would give people an opportunity to see really great fighters and really great fights, and not these planned, so it's like almost orchestrated events, right? Because Romero does not have a snowball's chance in hell of beating Gervonta Davis in a fight. He's just not that good a fighter. He doesn't have the footwork. He loads up on it. He loads up on his shots. And I mean, he's a powerful, strong puncher, but a powerful, strong puncher, when he's in there against somebody that is just as powerful a puncher, but the guy is smarter. He's just an all-around better fighter. I mean, Romero is just absolute food for Gervonta Davis, and on top of it, it just doesn't mean anything for the division. At least in the 130-pound division, if he fights Chris Colbert, that fight means something, right? And it can set up fights with Oscar Valdez and all that. But I understand why he did it, because it's the thing that Floyd Mayweather Jr. says that he wants to do. He wants to have in-house fights, because in in-house fights, all of the money stays right there with Floyd Mayweather Jr. Both of his fighters get fights. I mean, quite honestly, Romero is not somebody who down the road is really going to be, you know, a world champion. And now I know that Romero is somebody that is holding a championship belt, but Romero, in my opinion, is not somebody that is really a championship fighter. He's somebody that gets a secondary belt, somebody that is doing a real good job, opening his mouth and talking his way into a lot of verbal fights, Twitter wars, and all that stuff. And it creates a show around the fight. But it doesn't, when you actually watch what's going on in the ring, it doesn't do anything to, enhance the sport of boxing. And now I am not a promoter, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a promoter, but I just have to believe that there are, that people are really going about this the wrong way and always trying to figure out what's the biggest event that they can make, and not really saying, taking in consideration what are actually the best fights that can be made. There's no way that you can tell me, similar to what, Gary Russell Jr. said about Gervonta Davis, there's no way that you can tell me that that Chris Colbert versus Gervonta Davis isn't going to do good numbers. Chris Colbert is as known a fighter as Rolly Romero is, especially because Chris Colbert is so much better of a fighter than Rolly Romero is. But they decide to do that for the money reasons, and I can understand that. Now, personally, when Rolly Romero fights, if Rolly Romero fights Gervonta Davis, because honestly, man, that's an if too, because you've got all of those different belts that Gervonta Davis has. He's got another one at 140 pounds, but I think we can safely say that he's not going to be fighting at 140 pounds very often, because, Gervonta Davis is just, too small a guy, man. But, Gervonta Davis, to me, I have Gervonta Davis in my top 10 pound for pound because of what he can do in a boxing ring. It's unfortunate though that that Gervonta Davis's, matchmaking is already in the Floyd Mayweather, the money Mayweather pattern, and not the pretty boy Floyd pattern. I used to now, and this takes me back to when I was, back when Floyd Mayweather Jr. was coming up, and I used to say, man, Bob Arum keeps matching him so hard. He would fight fighter after fighter where it would seem like, it was an even matchup, right? Well, at least that's how they publicized it being an even close to an even matchup. Looking back on it, thinking that Angel Manfredi was real competition for Floyd Mayweather Jr. might have been a little bit wrong, but at least we got the Diego Corrales fights, and we got the Jose Luis Castillo, fights there. We got the Gennaro Hernandez fights really early. Those were very, very good fights where I was like, man, Floyd Mayweather Jr. is just getting matched tough after, hard fight after hard fight after hard fight. And I believe that is really what made Floyd Mayweather Jr., not the fights, not what made Floyd Mayweather Jr. to casual fans after that was the fights that took place on Showtime. But Floyd Mayweather Jr. had already established himself with hardcore boxing fans early. I think the fight with Chris Colbert would have been a fight that could have taken place with somebody that could have proved, that Gervonta Davis, is a real fighter, because is one of the proving type of fights that Floyd Mayweather Jr. had. Because Chris Colbert is not going to be easy money, the way that he moves. And you can't tell me there would be a boring fight either, because Chris Colbert doesn't run. Chris Colbert is right there in the pocket, man. But, so far, it just doesn't seem like Floyd Mayweather Jr. is willing to do that with Gervonta. Yeah, maybe he has the company, the Mayweather Promotions, rides on Gervonta Davis because they don't have a lot of other fighters. I'm not sure. But whatever it is, I think this right here is a big missed opportunity to have a great fight in the 130-pound division in exchange for setting up a show in the 135-pound division. But that's about it, because Rolly Romero's just not good enough a fighter to really compete with Gervonta Davis. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.